Hi there, and welcome to my basement, and welcome to the superpilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, and I'll be talking to you in the basement today. All right. So we got my little tomato plants here. I was right around this time is a time where we're starting to think, depending on where you are, but a lot of people in North America, anyways, in Europe probably, are thinking about planting their tomatoes. And so I thought, I have my garden in the back there, and I wanted to show maybe there's some gardeners out there, and I wanted to show you guys. You know what? I forgot to adjust my microphone again. There we go. That might be a little different. Might be okay. All right. Yeah. So you might not have known that there's different types of leaves on tomato plants sometimes. Now I'll show you here, all you gardeners, and hang in there, you pilots too. I'll make this all come around. Okay, so we got your regular. If you can see this, that's your regular kind of tomato plant, and that's your regular tomato leaves. Okay, this type is a black cherry tomatoes. We've been keeping these seeds for about 12 years. Black cherry tomatoes taste great. And yeah, they just keep coming back and coming back. We keep them from seed. And then so there's that. You can see how there's like little spiky leaves on there. Now we got this other one. Okay, so this one here is a watermelon beefsteak tomato. Hey, look at that. It's kind of like a smooth leaf. And if you ever grow potatoes, it looks like a potato leaf. So, which isn't too surprising. So let's just say you get yourself some heirloom seeds or some heritage seeds from somewhere, and you say it starts growing, and you're like, that's not a regular tomato leaf. Well, these heritage or heirloom tomatoes, sometimes they'll have a little, like the watermelon beefsteak, they'll have that type of leaf. And I think we had another one before called the indigo apple, and I think it was like that too. So don't be surprised if it looks like a potato leaf, because tomatoes are actually in the potato family. So it's the nightshade family. And what was it? My girlfriend was telling me today, she was looking on the internet about you could splice one of these things onto a potato and make what did they call it? Pomanto? Potato? Tomato, potato. I forget how the words went together, but I don't know. That might be an experiment for next year. Okay, and another little gardening tip. Oh, pomanto. That's right. Thank you, Mona Moore. Pomanto. Yeah. So yeah, another thing you notice here, I have two planted in each one of these little cups, and what you want to do, if you need to, separate them. I usually plant two seeds in each in case one doesn't catch. So you can separate these, and I learned a trick to this from a girl I used to work with, Cindy. She's quite the gardener. And so that's another thing when you're working in the flying industry, you meet all these really interesting people with things that are that they're interested in other than just flying. So what Cindy was saying, and we tried this out last year, it works great. Before we'd kind of shake it apart, and the roots would get all loose, and you rip them apart, and you're losing roots. What you do is you get yourself like a kind of like a regular, not a butter knife, but some little sort of serrated, just a regular knife, and not with a point on the end. You just kind of cut through it like that. Saw it up and down, right through the middle. You do a nice clean cut through the roots. You don't poke a hole in the bottom, and you just kind of take them apart, plant them in individually. It works great. All right, so there's a little gardening tip of the day if you have two in a little cup. All right, what was I going to talk to you here? Okay, so what's this flying have to do with what tomatoes and flying? What's that got to do with anything? Well, I'll tell you a little story about this. There was one time I was flying around, I was teaching someone how to fly, and so I would always see the first little, I don't know, I guess the first year or so when I was learning how to fly, I was flying over Leamington, which is the tomato capital of Canada, and so you'd be flying around, and then you'd see these fields, and all of a sudden, the same field you saw, it would be all orange. And I was thinking, why is that orange now? Okay, obviously it's a tomato field, but how do they get them all? The whole field just goes orange at the same time. In my garden, one tomato will be ripe before another tomato. But how do they get that? So I was flying around with one of my students, Ron, king of the produce out in Leamington. Ron, he was. So I asked him about it. He grew up on a farm, and he said, "Oh, they just what they do there is the tomatoes that are in the field, they're all growing, and they say, okay, weather conditions are right, and they spray them with a hormone, and that triggers the ripening. So they all start ripening at the same time once they get hit with this hormone, and that would make sense too. That you got if you drive around, you'll see these big bins on wheels, and they're all just filled with tomatoes, and like, wow, how'd they get them all in there? And they're all exactly the same color. So, anyways, then they ship them off, make ketchup out of them in Leamington, and other various things they make with them there. Yeah, so there was that, and then I was going to talk to. Okay, so while we're still talking about the tomatoes here, like, okay, let's see this. If you wanted to get yourself a tomato, okay, what do you want to do? Like, I want to get myself a tomato. How do you do that? So, like, okay, I want to get a tomato, but why would I want to have a tomato? I got this little thing. You're thinking it's a little bit of work. Okay, so you could probably get a tomato that tastes fantastic, and you give them away to your neighbors and family and stuff. They'll really everyone appreciates a good garden tomato. And if you people call you Dr. Green Thumb after a few years, and you're really awesome with it. And but what you got to do, and it's really not that hard to grow tomatoes. You need three things. So you need sunlight, basically, about full sun, 8 hours a day. You need sunlight for tomatoes, and soil and water. Pretty simple. And but a lot of people that want to start gardens, they say, yeah, I'd like to do that, and then they kind of don't, right? But yeah, I can tell you from what I've found is that once you start one, you kind of get into it. And so the most important thing about growing tomatoes is not being perfect or anything like that. It's just getting out to the garden. If you can get out to the garden, you go. And right now, it's too late to start these from seeds, but you can get ones that look similar, probably better than this. Just at your local nursery, or even some grocery stores have that out in the parking lot. So just for the first year, keep it simple. Go to the store, buy a little flat, maybe 6 of them or something. Go in the backyard, flip over some grass, slap it in there, see what happens, right? But the most important thing is getting out to the garden. And so that's pretty easy. And then just plant it in a place, lots of sun. And what else we got here? You need water and soil. So there you go. Don't keep it too watered. And and once you get into it, you're going to be seeing all kinds of YouTube videos about exactly how to do it. And if you're starting off, don't worry, just do something, and you'll figure out what works for you. Everybody does it individually. Okay, and then another thing to watch out for if you're starting your garden is to just take it easy. You might not be in full gardening shape. If you're using a shovel, it might hurt your back. Just take it easy. And even if you are a little bit out of shape or you're a little bit older, don't worry about it, because we had when I was living up in Sudbury, we had some neighbors, Tony and Barbara, that lived just over a little picket fence that we had in the backyard. And Tony was 90. I think he was about 93 when we were talking to him. Barbara was 88, something like that. And every year they'd put out their tomatoes. They were from Poland. And Tony, he was like, he's probably long gone by now, but he was a real interesting guy. He was. You had to really yell when you were talking to Tony about anything about his tomatoes. They kept the same seeds every year and reused them. And he was an interesting guy. The Nazis came to town when he was 14 over in Poland, and they threw him into a coal mine until the war ended in World War II. So he knew how to mine. And then when Sudbury was looking for miners in the nickel mine up there, He said, "I'm coming to Canada," and then he did. Raised his family and everything. And Tony and Barbara were fantastic neighbors. And she used to pick echinacea and soak it in vodka, and then that was her cough syrup. So, yeah, we'd see him doing that. So I kind of miss Tony and Barbara. They're good neighbors. And yeah, so anyways, that's that. What does this have to do with flying? Get to the airplanes. Aha. Well, same technique for getting your garden and getting a tomato. How do I get my pilot's license? Aha. This might be a little flashback for you here. So, like, okay, well, why do you want to get your pilot's license? And then I'm thinking that no one's ever, the whole time that I was working as an instructor, I never saw anyone walking in there or anywhere that I've met. Oh, you're a pilot. You're a pilot. I've never met anyone that said, "Oh man, I wish I didn't get my pilot's license. Oh, it was the worst thing I ever could have done." Like you won't hear that. So like they might have said, "I spent a lot of money on that," but they, it, you, I don't know. It's a cool thing to do if you got the bread. So, all right, and then so same thing with the tomatoes. So, how do you get your pilot's? How do you start off getting your pilot's license? And what do you need really for a pilot's license? Okay, just at a very meta level, you need money, lots of money, money. You need the motivation to do it. You really have to want to do it. You'll find that a lot of pilots are very stubborn people. And you have to be stubborn to get through all the training and everything that it takes to become a pilot, especially for a job. You got to be really stubborn and say, "I'm doing this no matter what." And then you also need time. And so just like the tomatoes need 8 hours of sun, I would say when you're starting off to learn how to fly, you need about 8 hours per week that you can study, go flying, go to ground school. If you can just kind of put aside 8 hours a week, if you got that in your schedule, that's enough time for you. Sometimes you might need a little bit more. So if you're working 80 hours a week, you own a business, save up your cash, wait till you got some time off, and then do it then. But yeah, if you're working a lot, it's pretty tough. Okay, and then so how do you get your license? What's the first thing you got to do? You got to get to the airport. Just like the tomatoes got to get to the garden, you got to get to the airport. And then yeah, so you got to go. And then another thing you might want to watch out for is I'm just looking at some notes over here. Yeah, how much money does it take? It takes quite a bit, and it depends on where you are in the world. How much money it takes to learn how to fly. I would say to anyone, don't get into too much debt, because in general, that's a good idea anywhere. But for flying, it's kind of an expensive hobby, or expensive to get into for a career. So you really don't want to bring on any debt at all, if possible. But try to keep the debt to a minimum, and then also make sure you drive safe to the airport, because technically, it's more dangerous driving to the airport than flying, statistically. So there's that. And so what you got to do is get out to the airport, and you walk up to somebody and you look them straight in the eye and you say, "I want to be a tomato." Or pilot, ask about an introductory flight. Okay. Yeah. So anyways, that's a little show for today. And thanks. We got Mona Moore is here again, a loyal fan. Very good. And yeah, that's about it for today. If you want, you could, that's another thing. You could, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. If you put the notifications in there, sometimes you get notifications, sometimes you don't. YouTube's a little funny about that. But yeah, I could use some more subscribers, and leave some comments, and give me some more ideas about what we can talk about here. Ideally, I'd like this to be a kind of a question and answer period. And well, that's about it for today. So thanks a lot for watching, and we're going to shut her down. And all right, great. Thanks for watching. Bye.